And thank you everyone for being here, last talk of the day. And I'm not gonna waste anyone's time with any sales or with saying the obvious. We're just here to wrap the night talking about how you can get all this beautiful set of tools that comes with automation and beginning of AI being developed in our field. And you can use it to absolutely sink your laboratory and destroy your business, because we're seeing that way too much out there. And we're going to learn why, and we're going to learn how do we prevent this from happening, and how do we implement things and validate things successfully. So is your laboratory, the Babel Tower, ready to fall? I don't know if everybody knows the legend of from the Genesis, from the Tower of Babel, where the Babylonians wanted to build a tower that goes all up to the gods in the sky. And they wanted to be a mark of the development in their times. And I think this is what a lot of us are trying to do. We're trying to build big networks, big automated laboratories, big things that work more streamlined as a factory. And we want better outreach. We want escalate our businesses as fast as possible for more profit and more reliability and for more safety. And when we look around and we go talk to our colleagues, it's just not working. As a consultant, we go to about, depending on the year, 50, 100 different clinics for various reasons. And the complaint is in every single one of them. We're trying to automate and it's being a nightmare. And why is that happening? Well, we have several elements for automation in here in the laboratory that we have to consider, that have to flow between one each other very well, just like the Babel Tower, people communicating with one each other to, that it was what the story said, for things to go well. And once things do not communicate well, we start seeing problems in our implementation of automation and in the way that the laboratory is being ran. Elements that are key in our laboratory that need to integrate and converse with one each other for us to have success in our automation. EMR is a central piece of it. Cycle management tools. AI, which is, again, a development right now. I don't think anyone has secure AI tools that are clinically validated enough, but we're getting really close to that. Sample ID, the automatic sample ID tools that are in the market, they're so important right now. And environmentals in the laboratory, that is basically our quality control. What are we looking into laboratory that is reliable measurements and consistent, and they're actually meaningful for safety or for quality of the work that we do. For us to have all these things going on, one very important thing that every laboratory director or manager or supervisor should be doing today, if we're trying to implement any new technology or automation in a laboratory, is to check for data entry workload from our employees, from our staff, from our embryologists, whoever is doing that. And we have to know that the weakest link in all this process is always the human that is working behind the keyboard. The quality of work that our staff is going to put in that keyboard is highly related with the time that they consume doing that. And the number of entries that they have to do per day is always going to have an impact on the time they're using for implementation and data collection for each technology that we use, right? Here is where the malleability of communication between the systems in the lab is going to have a great impact on if we're going to have a successful lab that uses automation, or one that is driving the embryologists and the data management people completely crazy and nothing is making sense. When you're looking here, in this graph particularly, I like to use to show how happy your embryologist is inside the lab when they have more data entry to do because your systems and your softwares are just not communicating between each other, and they have to go there and physically enter the data in each one of them separately. And you see in there, Cell working a lot on Tuesday, probably a pretty happy guy. On Friday, he's not doing much data, it's probably leaving. But when you look at Broccoli, and yes, I did change the names of the people that work in the lab. You see that person on a Friday doing that much data entry together with Tom Hanks, that is doing quite a bit too. Are these embryologists really happy working in there on a Friday? Probably seems like the end of the day, they're sitting there typing information in again and again and again, the same information in different softwares because the lab is going through the process of automation. Probably not. Probably in here, your process of automation, validation, or implementation is making your embryologists go away. And this causes more chaos inside the laboratory instead of helping. Okay, we all are going through this process. We are having to collect too much data. We don't know how to analyze it, and it's taking more time out of embryologists than if they don't have any automation, if they have only the spreadsheet that was out there 5 years ago, which they probably still use because they can't fully trust all the communication between the systems because it glitches all the time. And I know the majority of you guys are listening to this and thinking, yeah, that's what works. That's how it's working in my lab. And my lab director just says that it's because we don't know how to use it. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Successful operations of laboratories and IVF clinics as a whole today is counting on clinical and IVF laboratories. If you're gonna need to use automation and you're actually interested on making automation make everybody's life easier, you do have to include the IT department on your math. And that's so important because we don't have an IT background. We are embryologists in the lab. We have physicians and nurses in the clinical. We simply cannot troubleshoot things immediately just counting on vendors. We don't know how. So you need the IT department. So what are your options? You can hire an IT professional that knows about every one of those softwares that are used in the IVF field, which is none, pretty much nobody out there. You have to train someone in-house to learn all that. Or you can have your laboratory director or a consultant laboratory director implementing all that for you. And the key question when you're going to have a laboratory director or a consultant laboratory director implementing any data-related technologies in your laboratory is, what is your IT background? If that person doesn't have a strong IT background understanding what is the data, what is the metadata, what is the concept, what are the requirements for that or each specific technology that you're putting in there, that person is going to put your lab down. Run. That's what I always say. For the laboratory directors that want to take up on the challenge, what are you going to see out there? The most simple examples we have for data issues when you're implementing something. The data isn't where it needs to be. So let's think about our EMR. You're looking for it and there are 500 different tabs in there. You just can't find what you need in a timely manner because it's just too complicated. Or your data is being transferred from one software to another one, scrambled. Or your data is there, but it's too late because it was all scrambled between one vendor and the other. They took way too long to get the information to help you, and suddenly it's affecting patients. For example, you need to implement a cryopreservation storage software in there, and you need your data extracted from your EMR. And then you call your EMR, and they say, yes, we can absolutely merge with them, because every vendor is going to tell you that they're fully compatible with whatever you have in the lab. And they say, yes, we can do this extracting here May 2027. Because they were busy. Look, and it's happening. And I'm not kidding. This is happening out there. Or your data is not formatted correctly. So one vendor sends the information in one format to the other and nothing works. And suddenly your patient information is all over the place and you can't fix it. You have poor quality data. That happens a lot with AI, a lot with AI development. I slightly disagree that AI is just a tool to help us. I fully believe it should overperform us. We're not that special. We're humans, and the human brain comes with a lot of faults. And when you're talking about selection and numbers, AI has to outperform every single one of us because it makes sense. And I do think this is where we're going, and this is how it's going to be. We just have to learn how to use it specifically to outperform us so we can go back and be an embryologist and not be a data analyst or whatever we're doing to choose embryos that is taking way too much time from the precious times of the day that we have to concentrate and do a task inside the IVF lab. Duplicates throughout the pipeline. Who in here doesn't have to type the same information at least twice in 2 different softwares or data sheets or whatever you have inside your laboratory? Today, in 2024, this is absolutely unacceptable. We're still punching keys in the computer to put SARTA-DAD inside their database, which should be just exported in a simple way. Or there's no clear common understanding of your data. That's when you're failing. You're trying to put all that technology in there and nothing in the lab is making sense. And that's when you have to stop and rearrange things and look for an IT person because you're just not up to the challenge. Here, interactions that can bring issues during implementation of technology in your lab that can cause you problems. The premise of everything you're going to do with data management and technology implementation is going to be good data in will get good data out, but bad data in, it's going to give you garbage. Data starts with your patient intake by the front desk, and it passes through the EMR. And here you can see the EMR that you choose for your IVF clinic is going to be in the middle, in the center of everything else, every other software that you're going to use in the IVF lab and in the clinic. And you see in there inventory, electronic witnessing, AI tools that are coming up, environmental controls, there's your QC and everything that is happening around the environment of your embryos. They're all connected, but starting with patient intake and highly depending on your EMR. So be careful what you choose. Issues we can have with that, again, repeated data entry or data entry errors. One misspelling of a last name is going to cause you a lot of trouble out there along the pipe. And data entry errors are just human beings. You can hear from your manager that you're not attentive to details. You can hear that you're unreliable. Again, farther from the truth. We're humans and our brains are set to make little mistakes. It's how it happens. And we should just avoid that from happening from having better protocols and better choices. Data cleansing, how much time you have to spend cleaning your data because you put too much garbage in, and your softwares all the way down to AI are just not showing benefit because your data is all dirty to start with. You can have interface errors between those arrows in there. Those are your interfaces. You can have active interface errors or latent, depending on how that connection is being made between one and another software. Or the software doesn't really perform as advertised. Again, every one of them is going to tell you that they can connect and they are compatible with whatever you have in your laboratory. Turns out that the vast majority of them are not. Who didn't go with a software that you're ready to install and you're ready to start using, and then the vendor comes and said, oh no, it's not working because your browser is version number 37.38. We need 37.39. Didn't you know that? It's your fault. Or, oh no, your API is open, but it has a security tool in there that it doesn't let us migrate. And the list of not performing as advertised, it can go on forever. You just need to check with somebody that has a background on IT what you're bringing in. Again, data integrity is key. Same is data security. If you have a software from a vendor that is fully open and everybody can log in at any time, I very much doubt that that's going to be secure. And then you have something that is very integratable and very malleable, but highly unsecure for your patient data. And if you don't have the IT person to look into that, you're exposing every single patient to a hacking that is that easy. So be careful with that too. And then the complete inability to have all this working together and make a successful integration. Now, you don't have a lab director that wants to take up on the challenge because there's no IT background, and you don't want to hire an IT specialist or a department. That's when you're going to have to be very careful who you're working with. Do we have solutions for this? You're still up for the challenge? Yes, look at the API interfaces. Does it work with a variety of vendors, or it does not work? You have to check every one of the APIs. Do we have a middleware in-house? Are you interested in developing one? Or you're using a data integration tool? Are you using the right data integration tool? Do you have your data lake or a warehousing? And I put a couple cheat sheets in there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just make sure you understand this is not going to solve your problem. This is just a quick cheat sheet just for you to have an idea of what's going on here. If you're listening to this and thinking, what did she just say? I have no idea. Forget about implementation by yourself. Hire an IT department or look for someone that can help you with strong IT view in here. Just don't go by yourself. Don't go by what vendors tell you. It's not going to go well in the majority of the projects that you see out there. We don't have industry standards for any of this. And this makes us hostages of whatever each vendor is telling us, because we just don't have to understand what we're doing. And again, security will become an issue as we need open APIs for interfaces. So be very careful where you're putting your patient information into. Ask the questions. Get the IT guy. There are plenty of dorks in there wanting a job in an IVF clinic, learning those things. Give them an opportunity. Now in here, I got to the very difficult choice of telling you all the red flags, which business to never work with, or to tell you good luck on your own, because I'm not going to give you any tips, or to tell you my own experience and give you examples of businesses that I have a lot of luck with and work really well. For me, I'm not endorsing that you're never going to have a problem with the businesses that I have luck working with, but I have had very good surprises, very positive surprises working with the level of knowledge that these companies offer on my projects. And we do dozens a year. So I have never seen a company that can integrate environmentals as Ziltrix North America does. Their level of IT engineers is that high to start the project with, and it's been really good for me to work with. When I work with AI development, and again, not clinical, everything is under development in here, I had very good experiences, and I have been very impressed with the level of knowledge and commitment that I see with MIM fertility, which is not much in the market, but it should be. I think all of us are gonna have the opportunity to work with great things coming from this international company. But again, this is me working with different vendors and being very positively impressed by them. And for medical records, I do work with Artisan because you get on the phone with them, it's not going to be into 2027. They're going to have your problem fixed in 2 minutes. And for us, for medical records, there's nothing more important in your IVF lab or in your clinic in general. So these are examples of things that work very well for me. I'm not saying that other vendors won't work well for you, but I think there is a lot of room for problems implementing in our labs and making things communicate, and I can make this communicate. So for a variety of reasons, then I already put you guys, maybe half of you, to sleep talking about IT, and I won't go into details, but these are my suggestions. Now, all that was for our lab directors and supervisors, viewers today. For participants, there are physicians. If you don't want to deal with any of that, and you don't even want to have your laboratory, there's always the option to go do your cases in a laboratory that is open to different physicians. We do it. That's how we work. Our VIP clients are the physicians and nobody else. They bring the cycles for us, but there are plenty of labs around the world. In US, in Europe, in South America, there are open laboratories. They are independent. So you don't want to deal with any of that. Just go to an independent laboratory and have your problem dealt by them or by us or whoever you want. This is what I have for you guys. Thank you very much for being here watching. Thank you for your patience because it's late already. And if you have any questions, please reach out at any time. I'll be very happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have. Thank you.